Batman, the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader. Over the course of the last 75 years, we have seen Batman elevate through the ranks from small-time comic book character to one of the most iconic superheroes in the medium, and also one of the most iconic characters in the course of modern fiction. That being said, over the course of all this time, we've had our share of bad writers, overly zealous fanboys, and that grand tool of destruction that is the internet. And through these things, we've slowly seen in the minds of many people, Batman shifting away from comic book icon to overzealous comic book equivalent of the Chuck Norris joke. Though, trying to dissect through all this can be a difficult task. Of all these amazing feats the Batman has been accused of being able to accomplish over all these years, how do we decipher which ones are logic, which ones are lore, and which ones are simply because Batman?
Yes, this is real music. Darkness! No parents! Continue darkness! More darkness, get it? The opposite of light! Super rich! Kinda makes it better.
So you guys saw that new Batman vs. Superman trailer, right? Man, he's looking pretty good, isn't it? I mean, I was in the fence for quite a while, but man, that Batman-Superman fight looks absolutely amazing. And that got me thinking about the time I was starting to make this show. Of all of the crazy Batman myths out there, there's probably the biggest one people usually want an answer to. Could Batman actually fight Superman? No. No, he could not. There is no f***ing way. Alright, go ahead and favorite, like, and subscribe, guys. I will see you next time. Okay. I'm guessing you guys really want an actual answer to this question. But I mean, come on! I mean, as far as who would win in an actual fisticuffs fight, I don't see why people ever thought this was actually a contest. I mean, sure, there are a lot of different elements, which we'll talk about in a minute, that have given Batman somewhat of an advantage in these situations, but it's the main thing that a lot of people forget about. Advantage. There's always these stipulations that people put in order to make Batman actually have a fighting chance in any of these scenarios. And even then, he loses most of the time anyways. If you look at the actual tale of the tape from the comic books, Batman and Superman in normal continuity have fought exactly 7 times. And of those 7 times, Batman has won twice. And in stipulation to that, both of those were in Batman-centric comic books in which he had extreme help. Now, when most people talk about the fight between Batman and Superman, the one that most of the time comes up is the idea of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which is an alternate take on Batman several years into the future, in which Ronald Reagan has turned Superman into a militarized one-man army and has now committed Superman to kill Batman. Now, in this situation, technically, most people debate whether this fight actually ends in a stalemate or if Batman actually wins. But in the case where in order for Batman to win, and keep in mind, this is the one everyone points to saying that Batman would totally win, he is required to have, and I quote, the assistance of a nuclear bomb blowing up in Superman's face, the entire blackout of the sun throughout the entire city of Gotham, the help of the Bat Tank, as it's pretty much been nicknamed at this point, the help of Robin, the help of a specialized built Batman, Superman anti-suit, the equivalent of building a suit directly for killing Superman, like Batman's equivalent of the Hulkbusters we've seen in Avengers Age of Ultron. So he has to build one of those. And on top of that, none of that actually would have been able to help him win this fight without the help of a one-armed Green Arrow launching, and I kid you not, a molecularly discharged kryptonite bow and arrow that causes molecular pieces of kryptonite to be inhaled and flowing continuously through Superman's bloodstream. But let's put that all aside for a second. Let's look at some of the other ideas people have about why Batman might actually be able to win this fight. The main one people bring up is the Kryptonite Ring. Now, specifically what this refers to is, in the comic books and in the Justice League film, Justice League Doom, we're going to be getting back to that, Superman gives Batman a Kryptonite Ring in the case that Superman were to ever turn evil and Batman needed to take him down. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but there's one big problem with this theory, and that is mainly the fact that over the course of several years, Kryptonite has kind of gotten muffled in how it's been portrayed as far as its ability to take down Superman. All sorts of different canons have different interpretations of how much Kryptonite affects him, you know, how much kryptonite you actually need to affect him, how far away from it can he be, so on and so forth. But the main thing is that over the course of a long period of time, we've come to the point that most modern interpretations of kryptonite would require not only a larger amount of kryptonite to take him down, but also would require a larger amount of skill in its use. In particular, a lot of people have the argument that in order for it to really be effective against him, you would basically have to inject him with kryptonite, or basically get kryptonite lodged inside of him in order for kryptonite to actually slow him down. But of course, that doesn't always work, as you've seen in the movie Superman Returns, where Superman actually lives an entire continent made out of kryptonite, with a piece of kryptonite the size of a small dagger injected into the back of his spine. Just, And that's not even the most broken thing that Superman has done. I mean, just going over feats of Superman could easily dismiss this argument right off the bat. I mean, this is only modern Superman we're talking about. You want to talk about old Superman? You want to talk about, like, pre-crisis Silver Age Superman? The one that literally, and I kid you not, separated the DC universes by punching the space-time continuum in the face. I mean, okay, technically he didn't punch in the face because the space-time continuum obviously doesn't have a face, but he, you know, punched the web of the dimensions and something. Silver Age is weird. But if that's the case, and these characters are so incompatible to actually fight against each other in a battle to the death, then why do we keep insisting on having them fight each other again and again and again and again and again? The biggest reason for that is because it's still interesting, but not quite for the reasons that you might think. The main thing being that Batman and Superman are interesting characters because of what they mean to each other on a moral rivalry, not on a physical rivalry. On a moral spectrum, Batman and Superman cannot be any more different. They are the light and dark of the DC universe. You know, the Boy Scout versus the Dark Avenger. And that's usually the narrative that we get told over and over and over again. And the best of writers know how to run with this relationship, and sometimes giving them range, going for anywhere from, you know, hard rivals to sometimes really good friends who really know how to dig into each other. And those are the stories I actually find are the most interesting. The idea of Batman and Superman fighting is interesting, but only because it eventually leads to the idea of these guys fighting together as the world's finest. But that still leaves us with our final question. How can the Dark Knight hold his own in a fight to the death against the Man of Steel? Well, because Batman.
Yes, this is real music. Dark, brooding, important.
Hey guys, I want to thank you for checking out our new show. Go ahead and please click this button up right up here to subscribe, to check out more content from Dead Man Inc. Productions, or click any of these boxes all around me to check out some of our other projects. Also, go ahead and click the link in the description below to take a look at my new book, The Man Who Watched Batman Volume 1. It is an in-depth analysis novel of the first season of Batman, the animated series. And it's currently on sale for digital copies and physical copies for as little as 99 cents and $10. Until next time, thank you everybody, and I will see you next time.